This is a song that I wrote a few years back, and so I thought it was a good way to start the whole thing. My buddy was telling me, bring the music, so.
It's time to get up and do my thing. There's no telling what the day might bring. Everybody got a song to sing. Now it's time to get up, get up, get up. It's time to get up and sing my song. There's no way I can sing it wrong. I hope maybe you sing along, 'cause it's time to get up, get up, get up. Time to get up and do my thing. There's no telling what the day might bring. Everybody got a song to sing. Now it's time to get up, get up, get up. Ain't always easy to find your way.
All right. All right, so yeah, that was me surfing. It's what I love to do. It really brings me close to God all the time when I get in the water. And of course out here, I've been trying to find the beach, but I haven't found it yet. So I thought I would bring it to you. What was that?
Got some lakes, but no waves.
Yeah, right. Well, we got a lot of waves we're all riding. And first of all, I want to thank you very much for having Darrell and myself and Steve and Tom Thorpe from Los Angeles to be a part of the conference. It's amazing. I was saying it's like I've gone up and down in the high of spirituality so many times. When I was having lunch with Gloria, I was like, I felt like we had a huge truth talk just while we were eating chicken salad. And I was like, how am I going to feel that way again? And then I took a nap and now I'm back. So, so and then I was just so many amazing talks. It's amazing when Sherry spoke, because I teach 4th grade in the public schools, and there's just another one of those winks from the universe, like I really feel everything that you were saying, so I appreciate that sharing. So when I was asked, but I was like hearing everybody speak, and I've written probably 20 talks since I was on the plane to now. And, so I really feel this connection with Charles Fillmore personally. I was working with an adult population this summer, a cool little program, because I take a summer school program. And then during the year I'm teaching 4th and 5th graders, and in special education. They used to call me Special Ed, yes, when I was getting my credential, because my name's Ed. And my wife says I'm special like that as well. And I was walking with this group, because every day we would recycle, get money, the next day we buy food, we cook. It was just such a lovely thing. The whole, it's interesting because inclusion, I was an inclusion specialist, and inclusion can happen anywhere and everywhere, just like unity. When the consciousness is spiritualized or turned on, it's already there everywhere I go, right? It's already there. We're just catching up with what's already happening all the time. So when I was asking kind of that in my inner voice, I was listening to Jesse speak, I'm like, man, that is an amazing talk. So I was like, I better come up with a title for this talk. And the thing that came through me is God is already doing it. Yeah. God is already, it is done unto us as we believe. But we don't have to make up beliefs like, I think it was Butterworth I was hearing talk about affirmations. It's not like these affirmations are making life good. It's just waking me up to the goodness of life that's already there. And I'll tell you what, this whole place is so full of this divine light. When Darrell and I visit here, I was just between you and I have no, the only thing we like is the principles. That's the only reason we do this. We've been doing it for a long time. At a very important time in my life, I met Darrell at the Agape Spiritual Center, because I found out through The Secret. Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith was there. But I gotta be honest, it was a little bit of a combination of like Price is Right with New Thought. It was so Hollywood. I'm so sensitive, I was like overwhelmed by the whole thing. But little did I know, I met Darrell there. And I gotta be honest, when I first met Darrell, we meditate together. Oh, two things. There's another white man with a sweater in there meditating, and I couldn't tell the two apart. I mean, so I can. One of them was calm, and I didn't just. I'm back to my office job. He, on the other hand, had something to say about everything and everyone that was going on in the meditation. All the flyers selling stuff in the hallways, and at first I'm like, what's real? But eventually, he and I started hanging out and meditating. We met some amazing nuns who have a bookstore, who have a chapel. We started going there just because it's already here wherever I go, wherever I turn my consciousness on, especially if it's in a prayer-conditioned environment like this. It's already there. So I was thinking about, what am I going to say to a room full of people who already practice and know this stuff? And I don't want to get up here and do it. I run a lot of meetings at school. I can tell when someone's writing a report, and I call it a 4th grade book report. They're like, I wrote it all right. See, I did it good, huh? Like, it's about me looking like I did something good. God's going to be God no matter what I say to you right now, right? So at first I was a little scary, but then I was like, but that really lets me off of the hook. Entirely. God is already doing it. Our friend Siri Gopal, who's a Sikh, and he goes around the world. And by the way, so we do our Funniest Thing podcast, which we talked about. And it's just, it's a very selfish endeavor. Darrell and I get to have our consciousness cleansed each week by having someone in the studio or on the Zoom get together, and we remember who we are. We get together, I forget during the week, I do my best, I do my morning routine, which now I know there's a great term for it. Even my mom will love, which is called Lectio Divina. It's just a morning routine, right? That's what we do. We wake up, we do some form of inspired reading, we do some form of meditation, we do some form of affirmative prayer, even if it's just in the form of writing what we call an inspired to-do list. Like, I'm going to the grocery store, but I'm loving going to the grocery store and blessing everyone I see. Everything is fun, easy. You know, we include that on the list of what we're going to do for today, for the day. So now I know I have a great term, Lectio Divina. And it's interesting, this whole thing, I mean, you guys got to do something with this light. It is so bright. When we walked through here, the first time we came here, I said, this is like a spaceship, and a lot of the people here don't know how to turn this thing on. You have to be like a child to enter the kingdom. And that's what Darrell, is just a godsend to me. Because when he was saying this and that about after we meditate, it was like a breath of fresh air. He was not what we call packing the musket. Like, no, I'm spiritual, everything's okay, I don't mind. That doesn't work. It does not work. You have to feel it, right? You have to feel it. You have to know it. You have to feel it and know it, and then it happens, and I realize it's already been happening the whole time. It was Butterworth, I believe, he said, treat the concern, right, not the condition. Who cares about these buildings? Who cares about... I care because I love it. It's so beautiful. I can't believe the two people came together and practiced this stuff and all this stuff happened. But they were so excited, right? Someone I met when I was here told me, "Man, Roland, one time there was a tornado coming." She walked out on the balcony and said, something, I don't know what her affirmation was, but that tornado was gone, right? Yeah, so I was raised Catholic, and when I was like 17 or 18, I started praying these prayers. I was always praying the prayers, but my mind started to open. There's some sort of prayer, the profession of faith, and God is the light for the world to come. And it opened, like the door inside opened up, and it made me feel happy that I'm alive and that this God is the light for the world to come. And it also showed me that it's the light shining on where the world is going. And I started to wake up, but then when I talked to the priest about it, it was like, it wasn't expected that you're going to actually wake up and do it. It felt like it was, And so I was kind of wandering around, and I'll hang out with these weed heads for a while. They seem to be close to what I'm experiencing, and I did a lot of music, so I was looking around. And creativity there's an interesting thing that I heard. This book, I hated the name of the book. It was something about, who cares? But the concept was this, which was pretty good. He divided like masculinity and femininity into masculinity being this like still unchanging presence. Femininity being the outward expression of God, like dancing, singing, getting up and doing things. And then he said what happened a long time ago was like, it was just all men. So they made this like idea that the ultimate thing you could do is just sit in a cave for like 10 days and not move. Like that, the rest of it's an illusion. It's not real. And so they said the feminine part is not real. Which to me, it was like, because you can't control it. You can't control the creativity. So like Darrell's an artist, I'm a musician. The thing that saved my soul too was writing. All of a sudden I started writing. And I don't know where it's coming from. And all of a sudden I'm knowing things that I don't know that I know, and I'm writing songs. And so all of it started, to come together and shape this sense that God is working through me, that when I let that flow through me, I'm no longer afraid. I bless the world, I bless the people around me, my life gets better. And then Darrell introduced me to, to New Thought, to Unity, to the Daily Word. And all of a sudden, I was able to, like probably everyone in this room to some degree, the little kid in me that when he asked questions and he got like yelled at and thought, why are you asking that? All of a sudden was like, wait, you were right all along. You were right all along, and you were getting excited about something that meant something to you. So then when we met Dr. Elizabeth Marshall at the Center of Spiritual Living in Inglewood, and Kenneth Gray. We took a metaphysical Bible study. And it was so healing, because all of a sudden, wait, I was right. I knew there was something to this, right? And so we learned so much. Even sometimes Darrell would be sleeping on the floor because we do the show. And then 3 hours later, we go to the Bible study, and Darrell will be sleeping and wake up and say crazy stuff. But that's Darrell. But one time we were meditating, and then I think Kenneth Gray said, Jesus means I am. Right? And he said, that's what that means, I am. And then I was meditating, and in the screen of my mind, I took French. She actually threw us out of the room because she said, you guys do it. On our senior year, when she blessed all the seniors and loved them, you guys are the rudest kids we weren't allowed to be part of that. But I did learn some things while I was in French and making fun of my friends or getting in trouble. But I saw this phrase, je suis, I am, in French, je suis. And then it came together. It was so close to Jesus. And I said, holy smokes, I am Christ. And then I was doing the dishes at home, and my head went like, zoom, and I felt like I saw some face in a cave with a beard. I'm not kidding. And the guy looked at me in the eye. I don't know who it was, but we laughed together. Like, you got the joke, man. When people say, I believe in Jesus Christ, they're saying, I believe I am the Christ. Even if they don't know that's what they're saying, that's what they're saying. So it transformed me from the inside out. Let's see how much time I have. So, and it's been profoundly healing. I got a free pat down at the airport on my way here. Like a real pat down. Like, excuse me, sir, I'm going to be swiping across your crotch. And because on the screen, there's like a picture of a dude, and there's a big red square right in the crotch. And I'm like, what did I put in there? What's going on? But then I remembered I had screws in my head, right? And he's like, should we go into this private room? I'm like, no, we're doing this right here, man. Thank you. I was like, thank you, man. Some people pay good money for this. And so he did it. But the quick story about the hip is, I was surfing before summer school, 3 years ago maybe, in July 1st. And I got some good waves, and I was climbing out of these rocks, big boulders that are very slippery, right? And suddenly the ocean surged, my foot slipped, I hit a boulder right here, and all of a sudden I'm in like the worst pain that I've ever experienced, right? But it wasn't just the physical, it was this emotional feeling of separation that really surged into like all that feeling of being alone and unsupported. So I was like, what's going on? I look down and my foot is like not doing what it's supposed to do. It's just kind of dangling there. It's at a weird angle. So I'm thinking, I just, what's that called? Dislocated my hip or something. So then the miracles start happening. Two guys, one guy's going in on these rocks, one guy's going out. They help me up the rocks. One guy puts me in the driver's seat. I'm thinking I'm going to drive home. I nearly passed out from the pain. I'm like, dude, this is not a good idea. I couldn't even move my right leg anyway, so he got me out. Somehow we got my wetsuit off. He drove me to the hospital. He parked my car there. He texted me a picture. It turned out his girlfriend lived right down the street. I go in there. It's peak COVID. No one else can go in with me. It's way too early. I'm supposed to be teaching summer school through Zoom in a minute. And I go in, I'm just like, they dislocated my hip. They'll pop it back in. I'll be out of here, right? And I go into the X-ray room, and the dude's like, you got something going on right here. And I was like, ooh, that doesn't sound good, you know? What happened was there's a femoral neck in between your femur and the ball of your hip, and that thing was just like this. So I called my wife. Somehow it didn't hurt that bad at this point. I called my wife and I said, because I was all about, I'm going in purely, just like your son, pure affirmation. I called my wife and said, make pretend this is the best thing I've ever told you. And I told her what happened. Next thing I know, this team comes in, like the people who are working in the ER, and they're looking so glum. I have a master's in spiritual psychology. I went into counseling mode. I'm like, I don't want whatever they're thinking. I'm comforting them. I'm encouraging them. And they're like, you're either gonna need a new hip. And holy smokes, I'm like 46 or 45. Never thought I'd heard it. New hip. Maybe we'll be able to save it. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? I'm in here alone. I call Terry McBride. He's a speaker. He's spoken here many times. He's a good friend of ours through the show. He goes, Ed, and we call him wrestling with the cave bear because he's like, ah. So he's like, Ed, what do you think you could do? Can you get up and walk out? Do you have that faith? And I'm like, I don't think so. He's like, what kind of He's like, what kind of faith you got? And I was like, I would prefer they keep my hip. He's like, all right, let's affirm that. Literally, I said, yes. This surgeon wants it like a Top Gun pilot. We're keeping your hip. We're going into surgery in 2 hours. And he like slams the door. I go, holy smokes, this stuff is working. And then the anesthesiologist, who's like a young buck of a woman's like, she rolled her eyes. I said, no. She's like, we'll probably see you by like 5:30. And I was like, oh, the Top Gun pilot just said we're going in an hour and a half. And she's like, yeah, right, So she leaves, and I was just like, I just visualized this guy. I'm like, no, he's the man here. He's going to get me in. Less than an hour later, boom, I'm up there. And all of that, so what I found out is, and I had the best sleep in my life. 5 hours I went under anesthesia. Woke up like, whoa. And all of that's really important because it's very time sensitive. There's a time, there's an artery in there that if it dies, your ball of your hip dies. And so I didn't know that for a year, if that thing stayed alive or not. But I was like, I'm all in on affirmative. I kept blessing. If a doctor says, whatever they say positive, I'm in it. Turned out like the physical therapist came in and he said, to my house, and he said, you're not even going to know you had this in a year. And I said, yes. And I didn't do what I used to do. But what about what they said? What if? And I just blessed that. Then I went to the other physical therapist. He's like, are there only 2 screws in here? I go, no, there's 4. He's like, they're so perfectly placed. I've never seen anything like this. And then the last healing part, I just got my 2-minute sign, was my cousin, Emilio, in the Bronx is a doctor. He's calling me. My wife and son went out for the day. And I was sitting there, and I was like, I'll watch the final Star Wars. It's long and boring, but I'll watch it anyway. What the heck? In the end of that movie, the Jedi dies. She dies. But then all the spirits are above her, and she comes back to life. And right then, I felt the surge go through my hip. I felt my heart open, and I felt... So I almost didn't answer when my Emilio called. I was like, I don't want to hear bad news. I don't want him to give me the prognosis. Turns out, he had the same thing when he was my same age. And he had a spiritual healing on his. When I told him what happened with Star Wars, he's like, you're fine. You'll be healed. It was the affirmative. It was being receptive. It was knowing that God's already doing it. In fact, it's already done with God. That's really more what it's about. With God, it is already done.
Already done.
And so there's a light here. There's a golden nugget of metaphysics, of unity. And our friend Cyril Paul said, he works with organizations. The number one problem is they forget, they lose touch with the gold at the center of the organization, and either they want to live, they go back to the gold, or that gold is going to go somewhere else. Because I got news, God does not care what we call it or who's doing it at all, right? God's just like, give me an open door and I'm coming through. So my job is to be an open door. So hopefully some of this is resonating in your hearts and you're feeling as good as you've helped me to feel. Check out Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, if you want to come on, connect with us. And because I feel it. When we go places, I ask the Fillmores to come through. I ask Eric Butterworth, because when they leave these bodies, they want nothing more than someone who's willing to tell the truth and share it the way it's meant to be shared. They don't care about anything else. They know even more than ever before. So anyone who's willing to just let it come through. This is not about credentials. This is the spirit. The last thing, spirit of the law, letter of the law, kill it. But the Spirit's what gives it life, right? The Spirit. And that's the main thing I've learned from Darrell and all of his mentors. It's the Spirit. If it's not there, the voice sounds dead, and I don't want any part of it, and I can't stand it. That's why I didn't do that like I was getting thrown out of school. It's the classrooms and stuff. So just know it's worth it, because the Spirit is what heals me, and only when I've healed myself, which means a recognition of my wholeness and my divinity, can I be of any service to anyone else, period. Period. And I just see all of that in all of you, and I appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed Biagiotti. And let's thank the rest of our speakers for this afternoon session.